Well, here we are with another chat with Pat. Today we're going to do Pat's Choice, and it is this record, backwards, of course, on mine. It's the band's Secret Broadcast. The album is Penny Arcade from 2019, but Pat has even more information than that about this album, and she's going to give it to us right now.
Hey, so Secret Broadcast. I was introduced to them actually by Bob Cigarini 6 years ago. When they were actually at the Horseshoe during CMW. I met Matt Lightstone. The band had just relocated from Calgary. They're actually originally from out west, Calgary, Alberta, and transferred to Toronto. The band, the key member of the band is Matt Lightstone. Curtis Harding also plays bass and keyboards as well. Keith Hepler was the drummer. He has since left during he's now performing with another band, and Will Bennett is the guitar player. They had one album out called Filthy Souls. That was a few years ago, and their most recent album was the Penny Arcade on that gorgeous hot pink vinyl.
Yes, it was almost red.
It's almost red. It's beautiful. An interesting story about this band is when they did their first album, Filthy Souls, they actually recorded in the studio down in Seattle where Nirvana had been recording their very last album. And apparently it's noted for being a little haunted.
Okay.
And the drummer, Keith Hepler, the drummer at the time, ended up in the studio or in his hotel somewhere where the lights were slowly going up and down, fading in and out. And he ended up sleeping in his hotel room with the TV on all night. He was so spooked. Anyways, I have a couple of things here. So they released two albums, which is Filthy Souls and now this one, Penny Arcade. Apparently the Foo Fighters actually still, and Nirvana, Queens of Stone Age, Soundgarden, and Pearl Jam all record at the same recording studio. And the fellow who produced them was also of those bands also produced this album, Filthy Soul. Penny Arcade was recorded here in Toronto, and it's only the band's second album. They haven't been around that long. They are a very dynamic band live. They bring in sax players and background singers. Great Britpop influenced band. I love their music. It's so danceable. And then one other story I have is when they were doing the song called Killing Time, it's also on Filthy Souls. They recorded the video in the back of a van, a cargo van. Keith was on a set of toy drums. Will was sitting on the hub where the back wheel was, and Curtis was in the front seat playing bass, and Matt was driving and singing. They ended up recording the entire video with 3 GoPros, and at the very end of it, got pulled over by the cops.
I will say that I've had a hard time finding videos for this band. If I can find any videos, they will be below in the description. But it was they just don't have a presence for whatever reason on the internet.
No, but not a huge presence, and they were just coming. They had a tour booked. They were just coming out of the gate with Penny Arcade, and COVID hit. Mm-hmm. This was the release for Penny Arcade was in 2019 at the Horseshoe. Touring was planned for the beginning, for starting spring of 2020, and we all know what happened to that and everybody else around the world. So no, not a huge presence. They do have actually. I'll come up with some videos because I do know where they are. This band, there's a couple of albums. Give Me Some Hope is one of my favorite songs on this album. But before they released the album, what they were doing was tiny pop-up shows, private viewings, invitation only around Toronto. So they would do maybe sometimes a 20-minute, half-hour set to get the feel of the crowd for, what they thought about the song. And they were actually interested in what people thought of the song, changes, improvements, ideas, anything like that. So Matt in particular is really a really friendly guy. He's actually become a good friend of mine. Really interested in what people have to say about the music. So he takes it all in. Anyways, that's really the band in a nutshell. So they are relatively new on the music scene in Toronto, in the indie music scene. And I'm hoping that when we get out of this COVID age, that the band will be able to.
Millennium.
I can't even think of what to call it anymore. I hate the word pandemic. But they'll be able to tour with this album. What was your favorite song on it?
Well, my favorite song probably was Cause and the Cure.
Bingo. That's my favorite too.
Yeah. I really like this album. It's one of those albums you put it on and you hear the first little bit and you think, I'm gonna like this album. And sometimes it can get a bit samey, or you just hit a high point right off the top, and that's not the case. In this case, I really like this album. I thought that they reminded me a little of Collective Soul, with that there's a kind of retro rock, but it's brought up to modern day kind of thing, feel to it. And this really is in my sweet spot for music. I just thought this was, the whole first side, I thought was great. I just, Give Me Some Hope, God Is Disco, Shake Me, Young and Fearless with that little piano thing, Only Drug. And then, of course, my favorite song is the first song on the second side. And also Howlin' Like a Wolf is a really good song.
Yeah.
The whole thing, maybe my only song that I thought fell a tiny bit flat was is What a Life, which was the last song on the album.
Yeah.
I don't know, compared to the rest of it, it's just
so pumped up.
The rest is so inventive, and there was just something a little, if it had more of a catchy chorus. But that being said, I might have put this song, even though I didn't like it that much, earlier in the album, because it is a different feel than the rest of the songs, just to break up what was going on. Maybe the last song on the first side or somewhere rather than the last song on the second side. But the rest of it, it's got some great guitar hooks. It's got some great little piano hooks. His voice is perfect for this material. Yeah. And just the songs like, God Is Disco, Give Me Some Hope, Cause and the Cure, they've got catchy choruses. I just thought it terrific album.
The Cause and the Cure, I can actually remember when I first heard that song live, and it was at one of these little pop-up shows. And I was trying to think if it was a supermarket in Kensington, which is the name of a club. I think it was, but they opened with that song, and it just put me right against the wall. It was just such an incredible song.
It's a very powerful song, and you can see this band being really good in clubs. And a lot of these songs would transfer to larger venues because they do have a real nice solid sound to them. And like a Collective Soul, like a lot of the those bands of yesteryear that were just suited for a big crowd, because these would really get a crowd going. I think these particular songs, it's a wonderful album.
I am so happy that you like it, because it's one of my favorite albums. I love this, and I actually, on my album, I have it signed.
Yeah, no, I just have a
and on the back
too.
Moon
on mine. I don't even have craters or the save tranquility or anything. Just plain moon there.
If I can, I like to get my album signed. You never know.
No, I do too. Yeah.
But I will mention that Gene Hardy, who is a well-known saxophonist, plays with them quite frequently, and he adds just this incredible little zing to their stage performance. I don't believe, and I actually didn't check, but I don't believe he's on the album, but they do bring him in live, and between Gene and a couple of background singers, and the band just lets it rip live. They have played at the Phoenix in Toronto, which is a much larger room. I think it's about 2,500, 2,000 or 3,000 people in there. And they went over like crazy. The crowd loved them. I honestly can't remember who they were opening for, but I do remember seeing them there. I took pictures of it.
Now, if there are any wise people listening to this, is there a place they can get this album? Where is it available?
Right now, the only place that it's available is through Matt Lightstone, and you can reach him through their website.
Okay, and I will put that at the bottom, so people will be able to check that and order this album from there. And it is well worth your trouble, especially if you like that kind of rockin', collective soul kind of stuff, this is certainly well worth checking out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go right to the crux now. 0 being Rob Schneider, 10 being best. Where would you put this out?
I would put this album, I'm gonna 9.5.
I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's a terrific album, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I would give this a 9. I'm going to hold this up one more time, my unsigned copy, so it's not quite as full. So where would you put this album cover in 0 to 10?
I actually love the album cover, and I think it's very creative. I'm not exactly sure how it fits with the songs per se, because there's no song on here called Penny Arcade. But I do love the album cover.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
See,
I'm gonna give it an 8.
I was going to give this an 8, 8.5. And I agree. I don't know what it has to do, but I just like this cover. I just think, you're flipping through albums, and I think it's just a very interesting cover. And I don't care if it means nothing to the rest of the album. I like it, so 8.5.
Say, hang on 2 seconds. I'm gonna get the hot pink album.
She's going to get the hot pink album. Through the miracle of television, here it is. When you buy this, and I will give you the thing at the bottom, you will get that shocking pink, almost red. It's so shocking.
We had to show that.
No problem. So there we are. We've got a 9.5 from Pat, a 9 from me. We couldn't like this album much more than we do. I was a tiny bit more generous with though we both like the cover. I give it an 8.5. She would give it an 8. And we will try and find some videos for you, and so you can listen to this, and then you're definitely going to want to find the information on how to order this album yourself. Yep. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from her.
It's goodbye from him.